Doug was a fun show. Doug was a nice little coming of age story that multiple people could relate to. It felt very balanced in its character development. It had a really fun, wacky, independent design. It had great music and sound design, and it was one of the pivotal Nicktoons when it first launched on Nickelodeon. It ran on Nickelodeon from 1991 to about 1994. So I didn't see it in its original run, but I saw it in syndication. Then when Disney got it, they ran from 1996 to I think 1998 or 99. Let me just check really quickly here. Doug TV series. Well, they got a cool logo for it. Up on old Wikipedia. Yes, I know Wikipedia. It's fairly reliable for this. All right, so seasons 1 to 4 for Nickelodeon were 91 to 94. Disney, when they picked it up after it got too expensive for Nickelodeon and they just declined to renew the rights, Disney picked it up and then they bought Jim Jenkins' studio, Jumbo Pictures. Ran from September of 96 to June of 99. A grand total of 7 seasons and a movie. Pretty solid run. But I watched this show when it was on both Nickelodeon and Disney in various syndication. It was all over the place. First of all, it was split between 2 networks, which was already confusing. But second of all, people tend to think the Nickelodeon half is better than the Disney half. That seems to be the consensus from both people who worked on the show and from the audience. And I tend to agree with that notion. Not that the Disney half to me is not terrible. I don't remember it being terrible. I haven't seen it in years. I'm just now going back through it and going through the Nickelodeon stuff, and the Nickelodeon stuff is good. And it's more done on cells in the Nickelodeon era. I think they go to digital with Disney at some point. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's just more cleaned up cells, but the Nickelodeon has that nice feel to it, has that comic-y feel to it, and the newer series kind of doesn't. They change some of the outfits and designs of the characters. They change some of the dynamics of the town, but it still stays what it is at its core in many ways, from what I understand. And again, I haven't seen it, so I couldn't tell you how in-depth those changes are. I haven't gotten to that point in the series yet, but I wanted to talk about it as I'm going through because I'm having such a good time with it and noticing a lot of core elements and core good repeating elements. One of it is the way it deals with being sort of a slice of life, if you want to use a modern reference show, of a coming-of-age story with this character, Doug Funny. He is a good character. He is a very good character. He's got his grandiose ambitions. He's got his grandiose themes and his illusions of grandeur. He's always got his head in the clouds. He's always daydreaming, and he's got these super elaborate daydream sequences that they cut to, and regular dream sequences. You know, he imagines himself in all these roles, but in reality, he's very humble. He's a very good friend. He's a good brother. He's a good son. He doesn't always get along with his sister, but he cares about his sister, and you know it. And he cares about his parents and his dog Porkchop and his friend Skeeter and his friend / love interest Patty Mayonnaise, and I think he even cares about Roger Klotz, the guy who bullies him all the time. He's just a very caring and humble character. Despite how he might feel, he doesn't always act on how he feels, and that's part of the lesson of the show, is he doesn't always act on how he feels. Sometimes he acts on what is the best way to act in the solution according to the advice he's given. He actually listens to the people around him, which is really inspiring. This show was very inspiring for me as a kid. It really was. It was very endearing. He finds himself in all usual situations. He deals with bullying, with self-esteem, with jealousy, with rumors, with crushes, with the consequences of things like lying and stealing. A lot of these things, and they're all dealt with in such a brilliant and entertaining way. The show doesn't just have heart, it is also very funny. There's a lot of funny visual gags that I've noticed, and the intro sequence is a lot of fun. The music is a lot of fun. A lot of it is done through scatting and sort of mouth sounds, and even the cars are done with mouth sounds, which I think is hilarious. I sort of remembered that as a kid, but then I started laughing as an adult when I heard it because I was like, oh yeah, they did do that. You know, that's hilarious. It's so unique and fun. It really is a fun show. And it was done with a philosophy of sort of straight and narrow morals. And sometimes that doesn't work. In fact, I think that even created conflict for some episodes between the writers and Jim Jenkins, but they pulled it off. They pulled it off, and it's one of the best shows I've ever seen. It's one of the first Nicktoons. It's one of three: Ren and Stimpy, Doug, and Rugrats, I believe, on an original Sunday morning block that they did back in '91. And it started their whole studio endeavor. Shows like this helped start their studio endeavor and producing more animated series for regular viewership. And it was Nickelodeon was building as a titan of a kids network, and this is one of their building blocks. And that's why I think it's a shame that they gave it up for Disney, but it wasn't in the budget. They just didn't. They gave up on it because it wasn't pulling the success that their other series was. And with Disney, it carried on, and now it's sort of got a legendary status, even though people still debate which half of the show is better, because it feels like two different shows for some people. Even though it's largely the same, it still feels like two different shows. So, and it's got the creator was involved equally for both halves of the show, which is good, but it feels like two different shows for a lot of people. And I just think it was great. Complaints I have about it: watching the Nickelodeon half of the series, because it was done on cells, clearly there's a level of quality. The versions that I watched were clearly not restored in any way, shape, or form. And that's not a knock against the show. It's just the technology of the time, the look of it at the time. There's a charm to it, but there's also like, what exactly am I looking at? What exactly is this? What is going on with this? I don't really know what this is. Is this is that supposed to be a fire hydrant, or did somebody drop a red ice cream cone? Like, what is that? And sometimes there felt like a lot of that for me. Maybe you didn't have that problem at all, so you're probably like, what the heck is he talking about? But that's a very minor nitpick. All of the voice acting is good, but some of the voices of the characters are a bit annoying. Skeeter I used to love, and for some reason he just comes across as more annoying in his voice in some of these. He does that whole honking thing that he does. It's like a weird tick. It's like really bizarre. I don't know why he does that. He just randomly, I remember him doing it, but I didn't realize how frequently and randomly he did it. Like sometimes he won't do it at all, and then sometimes he'll just randomly do it in a sentence. He'll be like, I don't know, Doug. It's like, what? Why are you doing that? Are you a bird? I was associated with that and the long nose with him being some sort of analogy for some kind of bird. I don't know. But it was bizarre. I don't think he did it as much in the Disney half of the series. I think they stopped doing that. I don't know. But I do like his t-shirt design in the Nickelodeon version as opposed to his shirt design in the Disney version. In the Nickelodeon version, he has a Shazam-styled Thunderbolt. In the Disney version, it's just replaced with a yellow circle, and he's wearing a jacket. So I really like the Disney design, and I think that was one reason. I think that was a legal thing, was because you had who was Shazam, who was known as Captain Marvel for a long time. I think DC came and said, yeah, that's red, yellow lightning bolt on a red background. It's too close. It's too close. But DC totally butchered that hero in the new stuff, by the way. That's a whole nother issue for another day. Because I do like Captain Marvel. I think he's better than Superman. Or Shazam, as he's now called. I think he's better than Superman, but that's neither here nor there. But I think that's the reason they changed Skeeter's lightning bolt design. Or it was just a choice by Jim Jenkins. I don't really know. But this is a solid show. My favorite characters, I like Porkchop because I like dogs. And I love my dog to death. I love Harper. She's my little Yorkie poo. I kind of like the sister character because of how wacky she is. How much of a she's got this beatnik thing going on, but it kind of grows on you during the series, and a lot of it is just the character is just staring and wondering what the heck is she talking about. I think that's kind of funny. As much as I said his voice annoys me, I do like Skeeter because he brings a lot of the energy that Doug doesn't have. But I think my favorite character so far, as I've been rewatching it, is Mr. Dink. Mr. Dink, the next door neighbor. I think he's a lot of comedy relief. and he's got good timing with his comedy, and he's just fun. He's just a clumsy oaf with a lot of money and scientific know-how. I really like him. He's sort of like a nutty professor type character. I really like Mr. Dink. Doug's parents aren't really much to write home about to me. They don't really have much going on. I haven't seen a whole lot. In the first season, they don't do a whole lot with him, it seems. But yeah, and I do like Patty Mayonnaise. I think she's. I don't like the fact that she's a love interest particularly. I don't know. It just Doug's fantasy version of her versus the real her is kind of disturbing because the real her is just a nice friend who stands behind him and because I've been friends with girls more than I've never really dated any. I've always been friends with girls. I attribute that to growing up with sisters, but I don't think any of them I've ever considered a love interest. But I know that that's a story beat, and that's a story beat for the show that works a lot. But earlier on, I don't particularly like that aspect because she works so much better as a friend. She's so good to him as a friend, and eventually, I don't remember if they end up together or not. I don't remember if that's how the series ends, but I don't like it because it makes he fantasizes about her in a way that she's actually not. She fantasizes about impressing her with things that she doesn't seem like she would even really care about. So it's one of those out to lunch type of things about the writing that I don't know, I don't particularly like that. It doesn't ruin the show by any means. You get used to it, but I probably would have gone with more of a friendship, but you want him to deal with being young and having romantic feelings towards people. But and it's better than him lusting after the popular girl, which she's sort of popular, but she's not the stereotypical popular girl. She's kind of a bit of an overachiever, but she's got a better heart than a regular popular girl in this type of medium would. So, Roger Klotz is just a maniac. Oh man, I laugh whenever he gets his comeuppance. I really do. He's such a punching bag of a bully to where they're just making fun of the concept of bullies. Really, I mean, he is a punching bag for this show's bullying scenarios, and it's always funny when he gets his comeuppance. It's always hilarious. It really is. So, very well-rounded show, very well animated show. Agree with most of the show's morals. It's just good. It's a way better than I remembered. I knew it was great, which is why I wanted to talk about it. But I started watching it and I'm like, why do I not have this show on DVD? I need to get this show on DVD because it is fantastic. Absolutely. 100%. Recommend checking out both the Nickelodeon seasons and the Disney seasons. I don't remember them being terrible. You'd have to decide for yourself. I mean, you'd have to find ways to watch and decide for yourself. So let me know what you think of Doug, what your history is with it down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next Toony Talk. This has been Super Koopa. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.